Hey, what's up everyone? It's Chelina, back at it again with another video. So, yeah, we're totally doing this. In celebration of April Fool's Day, I thought it'd be hilarious to revisit one of my old videos and give it a fresh spin. Today we're talking about what would happen if the Night King was just too cool for school. If you enjoy these videos, do me a solid. Hit that subscribe button and smash those notifications so you catch every single upload I drop. Alright, let's jump right into this madness. Alright, so for anyone who's been living under a rock, Game of Thrones is this massive fantasy series based on George R.R. Martin's novels, where everyone's fighting over who gets to sit on the Iron Throne and rule the Seven Kingdoms. You've got your Starks, your Lannisters, your Targaryens, all scheming and backstabbing each other while dragons fly around and shit gets real. But lurking up in the frozen north, there's this ancient evil called the Night King, this ice zombie overlord leading an army of the dead. The whole series builds him up as this unstoppable force, the ultimate threat that everyone needs to put their bullshit aside and deal with together. He's supposed to be the final boss, the big bad that everything's been leading toward. Except he wasn't. He got stabbed halfway through season 8, and that was that. But what if none of that happened? What if the Night King looked at this whole invasion plan and just went, nah, I'm too cool for school? So season 1 kicks off, and we've got all this drama happening down south. Ned Stark becomes Hand of the King, starts poking around into some seriously shady Lannister business, and we all know how that ends for him. But up north, beyond the wall, something's different. The Night King wakes up, takes one look at his whole march south and destroy humanity to-do list, and just goes, fuck this, I'm out. He ditches the whole apocalypse vibe, throws on a sick leather jacket, and buys himself a motorcycle. Now instead of raising an army of the dead and being all menacing, he's just cruising around the frozen wasteland on his bike. He'll ride up near the wall every now and then, rev that engine real loud so the Night's Watch can hear it, and then just zoom off into the distance like some kind of undead rebel without a cause. The brothers of the Night's Watch are standing up there on the wall like, what the fuck was that? But nobody's actually getting murdered, so they're mostly just confused. Ned still dies because, let's be real, that whole mess with Joffrey and Cersei has absolutely nothing to do with what's happening at the wall. Poor Ned's still getting his head chopped off in King's Landing while the Night King is doing donuts in the snow hundreds of miles away. But here's the thing. Benjen Stark has zero reason to go ranging beyond the wall now. There's no mysterious threat, no missing rangers, no creepy shit happening that needs investigating. So Benjen just stays at Castle Black, probably hearing that motorcycle engine in the distance and wondering what the hell is going on, but he's alive, and that's what matters. Season 2 rolls around, and the Night King is still out there living his best life, being way too cool for school. At some point he starts thinking, wait, what even is this school I'm too cool for? But then he's like, you know what? Doesn't matter. Whatever it is, I'm definitely too cool for it. So he just keeps on cruising. Meanwhile, down at Castle Black, Jon Snow is stuck being a steward. Just doing boring steward shit, cleaning chamber pots, fetching firewood, and generally regretting every life decision that led him to this frozen hellhole. He keeps thinking, maybe it'll get better, but then he remembers, oh right, he took vows for life. There's no quitting the Night's Watch. Oh well, live and learn, Jon. Except you can't learn from this one because you're stuck here forever. Since the Night King is too cool for school and just vibing on his motorcycle instead of being an actual threat, the wildlings have absolutely no reason to band together and try to march south. There's no army of the dead chasing them, no existential crisis forcing them over the wall. They're just up there doing their normal wildling thing, raiding each other and surviving in the frozen north. The Night King, meanwhile, is being a complete menace to society. He's out there causing chaos for no reason other than it's cool. Finally, some poor ranger catches a glimpse of this weird contraption he's riding. The guy freaks out and rushes back to the wall, desperately trying to explain what he saw. But here's the problem. Motorcycles don't exist in Westeros. This dude is standing there going, it was like a metal horse, but it roared, and it had circles? Nobody has any idea what the fuck he's talking about. They probably think he's lost his mind. Oh, and down south, Stannis still gets his entire fleet torched at the Battle of the Blackwater because Tyrion's wildfire plan is brutal. R.I.P. to Tyrion's face too, because he still gets that gnarly scar across it. Season 3 is where shit gets real. Everywhere except at the wall. Jon Snow is absolutely miserable. He's stuck on lookout duty, freezing his ass off, and to make things worse, there's this weirdo riding some kind of contraption around in circles at night. Jon could swear the guy keeps flipping him off every time he rides past. He's standing there in the cold thinking, this is my life now, while some jackass on a motorcycle is literally trolling him. And yeah, Benjen's still alive, in case you forgot. He's just chilling at Castle Black, not dead and frozen somewhere beyond the wall. The Night King, meanwhile, is starting to realize that being too cool for school gets pretty lonely after a while. He's been riding solo for ages and decides, you know what, maybe I should raise a dead body or two for company. So he does exactly that, and boom, he's got himself a biker gang. He calls them the Seven Hells Reapers, and they start riding around the north causing absolute mayhem. Just a bunch of undead dudes on motorcycles being way too cool for school together. Down south, none of this matters because the Red Wedding still happens. Robb Stark, Catelyn, and pretty much everyone you cared about gets brutally murdered at the Twins. The Freys and Boltons don't give a shit what's happening at the Wall. Rest in peace to the King in the North and his whole crew. Season 4 kicks off, and the Seven Hells Reapers are growing in numbers. The Night King is just recruiting every dead body he finds, and they're all riding around causing absolute chaos. People are getting pissed off, but does the Night King care? Fuck no, he's too cool for school. Down in King's Landing, Joffrey finally chokes to death at his own wedding, and literally nobody gives a shit. Good riddance to that little psychopath. The Night King is fully committed to the biker gang lifestyle now. He's doing all the biker gang stuff. Riding in formation, making noise, being intimidating, just without any of the actual killing. But he is raising every dead wildling he comes across and adding them to his crew. Eventually, Mance Rayder hears about this and confronts him, like, hey man, you better stop this shit or else. The Night King just stares at him, says absolutely nothing, and rides away, because he's too cool for school and doesn't owe Mance an explanation. Meanwhile, Jon Snow has completely accepted his fate at the Wall. After years of watching this weird blue-eyed menace ride around on his mystery contraption, he's actually started looking forward to their encounters. It's the most exciting thing that happens up there. He'll be on watch and think, wonder if that asshole's gonna show up tonight. Down south, Tyrion still murders Tywin on the shitter because some things are just inevitable. Arya sails off to Braavos to become a faceless assassin, and Bran finally makes it to the Wall with his whole crew. But when he tries to go through, Benjen and Jon are there. Like, absolutely not, you little rascal. We're responsible adults, and you're not going beyond this gate. So Bran's just stuck there, going, but I need to find the three-eyed raven. And they're like, nope, not happening. The season ends with Stannis arriving at the Wall with his army. He's standing there surveying the situation when suddenly he spots the Night King riding that strange contraption in the distance. And just as Stannis is trying to process what he's seeing, the Night King looks right at him, flips him off, and zooms away into the frozen north. Season 5 starts, and the Night King is having an existential crisis. He's out there riding his motorcycle, doing donuts in the snow, and he keeps thinking, what even is this school I'm too cool for? Like, is it an actual school? A metaphor? Does it matter? He can't figure it out, but he decides he's still definitely too cool for it regardless. Jon Snow finally gets fed up with just watching this menace from afar and decides to venture beyond the Wall to find him. Big mistake. He gets captured by Mance Rayder, who sits him down and goes, listen, there's this fucking guy who's been terrorizing my people with his bullshit antics. He keeps raising our dead and riding around making noise. It's pissing everyone off. Jon's just sitting there like, yeah, I know exactly who you're talking about. Also, Benjen is still alive and kicking at Castle Black, living his best non-frozen life. Down south, Cersei completely fucks up and lets the Faith Militant take over King's Landing. She gets herself arrested and has to do the whole walk of shame thing. Way to go, genius. Absolutely brilliant political maneuvering there. Back up north, Stannis actually manages to meet with the Night King. He rides up to him and goes, yo dude, wanna join me in fighting Ramsay Bolton? The Night King just stares at him, says nothing, because he's too cool for school, then revs his engine and deliberately burns rubber, spraying snow all over Stannis and leaving him completely covered in it. Then he just zooms off. Stannis still burns Shireen at the stake because apparently that's just who he is as a person. Whoops. His whole army still abandons him, and he still gets wrecked by the Boltons. But here's the good news. Jon doesn't get stabbed by his own brothers. Since there's no actual threat from the White Walkers, and Jon never made that controversial decision to let the wildlings through, the Night's Watch has no reason to mutiny. Jon's just chillin' at Castle Black, alive and well, probably still wondering what the hell is up with that blue-eyed biker. Season 6 kicks off, and Sansa is on the run with Brienne and Podrick, trying to make it to Castle Black. They're trudging through the frozen north when suddenly they hear engines roaring in the distance. Out of nowhere, the Night King and his 7 Hells Reapers roll up, and they're now 5,000 strong. Just an absolutely massive biker gang of undead dudes on motorcycles surrounding them. The Night King starts circling them on his bike, not threatening, just kind of checking them out. It's clear he's trying to figure out what these random people are doing wandering around lost in the middle of nowhere. Sansa, terrified but trying to keep it together, calls out, "Do you know the way to Castle Black?" The Night King stops his bike and just sits there for a moment. He's thinking to himself, you know what? Maybe I don't always need to be too cool for school. So he makes a decision. He signals to his crew, and suddenly all these undead bikers are pulling up next to Sansa, Brienne, and Podrick, gesturing for them to hop on. They're confused as hell, but what choice do they have? So they climb onto the bikes, and the Night King just guns it, leading the entire gang in a massive convoy straight toward Castle Black. They're zooming through the snow at ridiculous speeds. During the ride, Sansa tries to talk to him over the engine noise. "What are you?" she shouts. The Night King doesn't answer. He just keeps riding. Because even though he helped them out, he was still too cool for school. Sansa rolls up to Castle Black on the back of the Night King's motorcycle, and the first people she sees are her uncle Benjen, her brother Bran, and her brother Jon. Jon's eyes go wide when he realizes who's driving the bike, and he immediately charges at the Night King, trying to tackle him off the motorcycle. "Stop!" Sansa yells, jumping off and getting between them. "He actually helped us. He gave us a ride here." Jon's standing there, breathing hard, completely confused. He walks up to the Night King and gets right in his face. "You've got a lot of nerve showing your face around here after all the shit you've pulled." The Night King just smirks at him and shrugs. Then he revs his engine, flips Jon off one more time for old time's sake, and rides off into the distance, because he's too cool for school. The whole situation with Ramsay's pink letter still happens. That psychopath still sends his threatening message demanding Sansa back. But here's the problem. There are no wildlings available to fight since they never came south of the wall. And since Jon never died and got resurrected, his watch technically hasn't ended. He's still bound by his vows to the Night's Watch, which means he can't just leave and join Sansa's fight against the Boltons anyway. Sansa's standing there, frustrated, trying to figure out how the hell she's going to take back Winterfell. Then she gets an idea. She slowly turns and gazes toward the wall, a plan forming in her mind. Sansa decides to take matters into her own hands. She ventures out beyond the wall to find the Night King, tracking the sound of motorcycle engines through the frozen wilderness. When she finally catches up to him, she just starts talking. She tells him everything. Her whole life story. The abuse from Joffrey, the torment from Ramsay, how everyone has used her and hurt her. She tells him that when he helped her, she saw something in him. Something good. She thinks he's misunderstood. That underneath all the too cool for school attitude, there's someone who isn't just a mindless monster. Then she asks him directly, will he help her take back her home? The Night King shakes his head, because he's too cool for school. Sansa slumps, defeated. But then she tries one more thing. "You can add all the dead Boltons to your army," she says quietly. The Night King stops. He actually ponders this for a moment. Fresh recruits for the 7 Hells Reapers, fighting absolute bastards who deserve it, he smirks and nods his head. Sansa's so relieved, she just throws her arms around him in a hug, thanking him over and over. And for the first time in his undead existence, the Ice Menace feels something warm. He stands there awkwardly, not really knowing what to do with his hands, and finally just gives her a gentle pat on the head like, there, small human. Sansa rides to Winterfell on the back of the Night King's bike, the entire 7 Hells Reapers roaring behind them, 5,000 strong. As they're approaching the castle, Sansa leans forward and asks, "What's your name?" The Night King reaches up, puts on a pair of sunglasses despite it being overcast and snowing, and doesn't answer. Because he's too cool for school. Sansa slumps against his back. She tried. They arrive at Winterfell and it's absolute chaos. Ramsay's army doesn't know what the fuck hit them. 5,000 undead bikers come roaring across the battlefield, circling the Bolton forces, running them down, showing them the true meaning of what a biker gang can do. It's a complete massacre. The Night King personally makes sure Ramsay gets what's coming to him, then adds every single dead Bolton to his army, fresh recruits for the Seven Hells Reapers. Rickon gets saved because the battle ends way faster with an undead biker army involved. Winterfell is taken back. The Starks have their home again. Down south, Cersei still blows up the Sept of Baelor with wildfire, killing everyone who's a problem for her. And across the Narrow Sea, Daenerys finally sets sail for Westeros with her dragons and armies. The Night King, satisfied with a job well done, rides back north. He's got new members for his gang and goes right back to doing his antics beyond the wall, being too cool for school as always. Jon finally gets the chance to meet with the Night King face to face. They have an actual conversation. Jon thanks him for helping Sansa take back Winterfell. The Night King just shrugs like it's no big deal. Down in Winterfell, Sansa has been crowned queen in the north. Daenerys shows up with her dragons and her armies, and she's like, "Yo, dude, wanna help me kill Cersei and take King's Landing?" Sansa doesn't even hesitate. "Hell yeah, girl, let's do this." Then she mentions she knows a guy who can help them out with that whole situation. Meanwhile, Jon has been spending more and more time with the Night King, learning the ways of the biker gang. At first he thought it was just about the motorcycles and riding around looking cool, but the Night King helps him see a completely new perspective. It's about freedom. It's about not being bound by duty or vows or expectations. It's about living on your own terms. The Night King shows him that being in a biker gang isn't just about the bikes. It's about brotherhood. It's about being too cool for school. Jon's having this whole revelation, this awakening about what it means to be free. He's spent his entire life being a bastard, then being in the Night's Watch, always serving someone or something else. But now he's learning what it means to just not give a fuck. Sansa and Daenerys eventually find Jon hanging out with the Night King and his crew. They're all just chilling, working on bikes, and Jon's got this look of complete contentment on his face. Sansa's standing there utterly confused. "Jon, what are you doing?" Jon looks up at her with this peaceful smile. "I'm being too cool for school, Sansa." Daenerys turns to Sansa, genuinely puzzled. "What school?" Jon just shrugs. "Who cares? I'm too cool for it." Sansa shakes her head because her family is absolutely ridiculous, but she's got bigger problems. She turns to the Night King. "Look, we need your help taking King's Landing. I'm promising you more corpses to revive for your army. Lots of them. Are you in?" The Night King doesn't say anything. He just reaches up, slowly puts on his sunglasses even though they're inside, and shrugs. Daenerys leans over to Sansa and whispers, "Is that a yes?" Sansa sighs. "I think so." The battle for King's Landing is absolutely insane. Daenerys comes in with her dragons, Sansa brings the north, and the Night King rolls up with the entire Seven Hells Reapers, now thousands strong after adding all those dead Boltons to the crew. They storm the city from every angle. Cersei's forces don't stand a chance. The Lannister army is getting torched by dragonfire from above, while undead bikers are tearing through the streets below, circling the Red Keep, cutting off every escape route. It's complete chaos. The Night King personally leads the charge through the gates, his gang flooding into the throne room. Cersei tries to fight back, tries to use wildfire, tries everything, but it's useless. She gets taken down, and true to his word, the Night King adds every single dead Lannister soldier to his biker gang. The Seven Hells Reapers are bigger than ever. Throughout the entire battle, Daenerys keeps trying to talk to the Night King, trying to strategize, trying to give orders. He just nods or shrugs or stares at her. He doesn't say a single fucking word. It's driving her absolutely crazy. "Does he ever talk?" she asks Sansa at one point, completely exasperated. "Like, at all? I'm the mother of dragons and he won't even acknowledge me." Sansa watches the Night King rev his engine and ride off to another part of the battlefield. "You know what? I think maybe he's just really shy," she says thoughtfully. It's the only explanation that makes sense to her at this point. After the battle is won and Cersei is dead, the Night King prepares to leave. He's standing by his motorcycle, his gang assembled behind him, ready to head back north. John walks up to him, and there's this moment between them. John spent all this time learning from him, riding with him, understanding what it means to be free. "You don't need to go," John says. "You could stay here. We won. You helped us. You're my friend." The Night King stops. He turns and looks at John, really looks at him. For the first time in this entire story, he shakes his head solemnly. And then, finally, he speaks. His voice is quiet, rough from thousands of years of not using it. "Sorry, Johnny," he says, "but I'm a loner, a rebel." Then he puts on his sunglasses, gets on his bike, and rides off into the sunset with the 7 Hell's Reapers following behind him. He wasn't a hero, he wasn't a villain. He was simply too cool for school. So, what's the moral of this story? Simple. Benjen survives. Also, violence does solve all your problems. The Night King forms a biker gang, massacres some Boltons, helps take down Cersei, and everyone lives happily ever after. Well, except the people who died. But hey, they got to join a cool biker gang, so it evens out. Alright everyone, that's it for this video. Happy April Fool's Day again. I hope you enjoyed this completely ridiculous alternate timeline where the Night King decided that invading Westeros was way less fun than just riding motorcycles and being an absolute menace to society. If you enjoyed this mess, make sure to leave a like on the video. And if you have any suggestions for future topics you want me to cover, drop them in the comments section below. I love hearing your ideas. Until next time, take care, and remember, be too cool for school.